What do you see here? A wooden gazebo, a covered terrace, a swing and a tribune for viewing competitions, a temporary structure? And what is the SBIC with the prosecutor? 80 real estate objects, capitol buildings, and cottages. Now let's compare what the State Bureau of Investigations doesn't see in Concha's Aspa. These are the gazebos of the authorities, which can be spotted using drones.
And these luxurious estates have emerged here over the past 5 years. It has become dangerous to swim in the bay. Even when children swim about 10 meters from these houses, their security drives people away and hides among the mansions of Tymoshenko, Chernovetsky, ex-regionals Dmitro Tabachnik and Nestor Shefrich. People say there is even Amatov's mansion here.
The authorities can sneeze at the law on restrictions on construction near the water. They already have everything under control. But for bribe takers in uniform, this is an excellent excuse for inspections of wake parks with the aim of coercing bribes and raiding water sports bases for themselves.
Former president and current ministers, deputies, Petro Poroshenko has a whole palace on the banks of the Dnipro River. Yulia Tymoshenko, Viktor Yushchenko, Anatoly Kinak also own more than 1 hectare of land here.
The selectivity of legislation, double standards, and biased actions of law enforcement officers are signs of the existing Ukrainian government that any wake park investor encounters. Construction of objects near the water is supposedly regulated by law. Water Code of Ukraine, which was adopted in 1995 and the results of which we can see now. During this time, the law made it clear that it does not work at all in relation to the estates of the powerful authorities, but it catastrophically limits economic activity, first of all, wake parks and water sports facilities, and their investment attractiveness. That is why there are more and more estates near the water, and water sports facilities disappear or turn into the same estates, so that there is something to pay bribes to law enforcement officers. It seems that something went wrong, and now instead of a water park for children, only the chosen ones will have fun here, because for mere mortals, recreation here has risks. If you hit me, you will go to jail. To ensure the development of water sports facilities, serious changes and special conditions are needed in the law regarding wake parks and water bases. If the deputies during the war have time for laws about marijuana, gambling business, tobacco, and pornography, it would certainly be much better for the people of Ukraine to adopt changes to the water code regarding wake parks and water sports facilities. Therefore, we invite all members of the Verkhovna Rada to join the promotion of this law, which is absolutely necessary for sports and the health of the nation. Incompetent lawmakers did not consider certain objects in the water code into account water sports facilities and limited the location of the water cut of almost all the necessary infrastructure of wake parks and water sports bases. Restrictions are prescribed in Article 89 of the Water Code. With this article, any briber in uniform tries to cancel the permit for placing a wake park from the local authorities in order to blame the entrepreneur or take this business for himself. Paragraph 4 of this same article prohibits the construction of any structures, except for hydrotechnical, aviation, hydrometric, and linear, as well as engineering and technical, and fortification structures, fences, border signs, border crossings, communications, and also recreation centers, cottages, garages, and car parks. They even made an exception for border crossings and forgot about water sports. But a wake park cannot exist without a cable car, a starting platform, a referee's stand, coaches' offices, inventory warehouses, tribunes, a first aid station, rescue towers, areas for athletes, a boathouse, a radio node, an automation room, and objective refereeing equipment for a comfortable service for residents and investment attractiveness. In the European Union, service facilities must also be added: cafes, camping sites, guest houses, and others. Capital development, which has many advantages and creates unique opportunities for the existence and development of water sports. But where athletes and residents thrive, law enforcement and regulatory bodies struggle. wanting to stop everything and block the development of parks and active recreation areas, according to foolish legislation created for their benefit, not for the citizens. What do you see? Volleyball fields and cafes with stands? And the SBI see a fashionable restaurant, but do not see the fields at all. In general, this is a world standard. When 70% of the location is occupied by a sports ground, be it a volleyball field or a cable park, behind me are 3 hectares, and next to it changing rooms, the coaching area, the federation area, the grandstand. Often, the tribune turns into a small cafe so that the spectators can comfortably watch the competition and immediately order something to drink. Well, the SBI does not see all this. They see only a fashionable restaurant. The benefits that the law on wake parks and water sports facilities with capital structures near the water will create much more beneficial to citizens than the risks that appear with the possibility of his abuse of power for his estates. This requires control over the construction and use of water sports facilities. For example, from the side of municipalities, as it works in the European Union, and in Ukraine also the Sports Committee of Ukraine SCU together with specialized water sports federations. For this, the federation should create requirements for the project and the infrastructure of water sports bases, requirements and criteria for sports and health activities with a clear KPI of efficiency. It is advisable to take infrastructure requirements for placement near the water and capital water sports facilities from the experimental parks of the European Union. You can see a sample of such requirements in the description under the video. Here is another vivid example of the law's selectivity and the bias of ordered repression by law enforcement officers using the example of X Park. Meanwhile, the SBI squad rummages through X Park and scrapes something under the toilets and gazebos, trying to find at least something to accuse the investor. 300 meters east of X Park in 2017, huge capital hangars of the helipad near the water were built, so that it would be convenient for the oligarch to immediately transfer from the helicopter to his yacht. But the SBI does not see this up close, because it is used by the state, oligarchs, and other representatives of the government, and it is not subject to arrest. I am not at all against, but only in favor of the presence of a heliport near the Muramets Park, because it develops the territory and the owner is a cool man, who negotiated and built not his estate, but a useful object. But this shows the selectivity and double standards of the government. It is possible for someone's, but it is forbidden for others. Then why does the government forbid wake parks from capital construction? Is it because the wake park can't give as many bribes as the heliport? This should be changed in the legislation, and law enforcement officers should be punished for harming investors. For their own, everything, and for opponents, the law with corrupt courts is the main principle of the existing Ukrainian government. Along the coast, luxurious palaces with their own security, exits to the beach, and many surveillance cameras. A $10 million house behind me. The territory is 1.2 hectares, its own beach, wine cellar, SBA center, of course, and many surveillance cameras. Bias, unpunished arbitrariness of civil servants, coercion for bribery, and command rating of successful enterprises are what destroy the rest of the enterprises in Ukraine and make the population of Ukraine beggars. The desire of the SBI and prosecutors to punish, discredit enterprises on fabricated charges, corrupt judges, and became the destruction of enterprises and a catastrophe for the economy of Ukraine even greater than the war. Currently, an association of wake park investors is being created in Ukraine on the basis of the Ukrainian Wakeboarding Federation in order to work with deputies and state institutions on changes to the legislation regarding wake parks and water sports facilities. We invite all entrepreneurs interested in investing in water sports infrastructure of Ukraine to join. All links to documents and proposals are in the description under the video. Let's make Ukraine better.